Hi, I'm Lee. I'm an energy intuitive, and every month I take the pulse on what might be showing up psychologically, emotionally, energetically for you. There's a lot going on right now, of course, and in this video I'll cover about 10 different areas, but a few of those key themes are the major awakening energy now hitting the planet and how it might be affecting you, the deepening of self-trust. I'll explain why that's coming up for people right now. Life review and ancestral issues, how memories and ancestral issues are coming to the surface. And last but not least, how this is a time where when we're through it, we will see an almighty rise of the human spirit. Stay tuned for the full video. Hi guys, welcome to the energy update for April, and welcome to our garden where I know many of us around the world, I think most around the world, seem to be quarantined at home right now. It's interesting, there's a lot going on because of coronavirus, and for those of you that haven't seen my mid-March energy update, if you are right now deep in the grip of the shock or the grief around being quarantined at home, what's going on in your country, I highly recommend you check that video out. If you go to my YouTube channel, you'll find it there, mid-March energy update, coronavirus. And that will really go through a lot of the symptoms that you might be experiencing right now and what might be coming up for you as we've gone into these, to use the cliche term, unprecedented times on planet Earth. And one of the things that's most interesting about this time is it's really bringing together the human and the spiritual. What I mean by that is, for many years, anyone who has followed a spiritual path, looked into prophecies for this time, will know that this is the period of history that everything was supposed to do this, and that we were supposed to go through this almighty axis turn on the planet. What that does to us as a human being, even if we had that awareness, is a whole other deal. So to any of you out there right now who are really struggling, I just send you an etheric hug, and I hope that you're finding and can continue to find the support you need, because this very strange time that we're in, it will pass, we will come out of this, but it has a certain work to do while we're in it. And what I will tell you is that even those people that I know in the world who perhaps aren't as challenged as others right now, nobody's getting away with this. Everybody is being affected by what is taking place, and it comes as a wave. So if you yourself are feeling perhaps really, really good for long periods of time, or perhaps better than you've ever felt in yourself and your spirit, and then all of a sudden you feel quite strange, or you go through some grief, or you go through some seemingly irrational anger, it's completely normal. That's part of the process of the shock and the grief and the wave of energy that's not just moving through us as individuals, but it's affecting the whole world. And that collective force of energy multiplies what we might be feeling. So, with all of that said, if what I just said to you really touches something in you, please go and watch the mid-March energy update coronavirus, because that will go into more detail on how some of those symptoms might show up for you, what they might look like, and how to deal with them. I'm going to take a look at the month of April, but with a specific focus on the first half of April, because things are changing so fast at the moment. It's hard to kind of know what's coming down the line in a few weeks. But what I was clear about when I tuned in this morning and yesterday for these themes is that for the next couple of weeks at least, these are going to be the main themes. So some of you may already be feeling some of these. So first of all, we have a major awakening energy on the planet right now. Now, awakening for some looks very spiritual. For others, it's just having your eyes widened as to what you thought the world was, what you thought the system was, how you thought you were living your life. So awakening is usually accompanied by some kind of shock or disruption to our norm or our pattern. Not many people who've had spiritual awakenings just have them out of thin air. They happen, but most people go through some kind of loss or trigger that pushes them into waking up a bit more to their spirit, to their soul, and to the idea that there is far more to human life than meets the eye. that energy is driving everything that's happening here, and never more so than now. Even if it might look like a virus and restrictions are driving what's happening right now, energetically, this is being universally driven, and it's very strong. So, feeling odd is normal at times like this, but remember what I said in the mid-March energy update, coronavirus update. The range between fear and love right now has never been as wide. So some of you will be really hanging out in the fear camp for a while, using it to burn off your existential fears, your fears of restriction, your fear of loss of freedom. Some ancestral issues might be coming up either from your family and things that they have gone through in the past that have curtailed their freedom, or you may just be energetically remembering things that have gone on in centuries past, especially those of you who tap into those kinds of fields. So be very mindful, those of you that tap into those fields, of grounding right now, because this major awakening energy, it works best when we can bring it down into the body. So if you are having like a massive experience, you're going to have to be the custodian of making your experience small and bringing it down to the small, simple details again. This is a wave of change that is moving through all of us. I'll say it again. This is a wave of change that is moving through all of us. And it can hit you in very strange ways. It's very like the grief process. It's very much the characteristic of shock. So don't be surprised if you aren't behaving normally right now, or you're not feeling normal. And if you try and feel normal and you try and get back to normal, you're either going to feel frustrated or sad. And that's okay. Frustration and sad, it's okay to feel those things. It's important to recognize those feelings are moving through you. But this is the new normal for a little while. And so try and adapt. This major awakening energy is affecting everybody. And one of the positives is you might be quite surprised by some of the conversations you're having with people in your life. You might be like, wow, I didn't know they looked at it that way. Or, oh, I had no idea they'd looked into this stuff either. So there's a connective force around this awakening energy that's going on with people right now. So there are many positives to this major awakening energy. I'm just reminding you that it's strong on the body, and it's strong on the nervous system, and it's strong on the psyche, especially if you are living alone. If you're somebody who's alone right now, and especially if you don't even have pets in your midst, it's very much you and your energy field connecting with others and connecting with activities as an act of self-care, not an act of, oh, this would be nice to chat to someone. No, connecting with others and connecting with activities that help you feel calmer and grounded are vital. They're not a luxury, they're vital. So if you've been avoiding that for a few days and you're not feeling good, start doing some things that will make you focus your attention elsewhere, or start connecting with some people in your life, or both. See how you feel. But really grounding this energy through the body is so important. So keeping our focus small where we can, small tasks, small actions. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Okay. Life review and connections. So a lot of you will be doing a bit of a life review. And for some of you, this might be a beautiful walk down memory lane, and you're having all kinds of random memories come up. And for others among you, it might involve reaching out to people from your past, or people from your past reaching out to you, because people's hearts are opening in a very different way right now. And a lot of the distractions that we had in the outer world have been removed. So this is going to be a really interesting time for you to do a life review. And right now, for most of you, the review will be a little bit backwards focused, meaning, yes, an enormous amount of innovation and life changes are going to come out of this period of time for people. A lot of you might be going, well, I don't know if I want to do this job anymore. Or I think I need to diversify in some of the things I do in my life, whether that's your work or your life in general. There's going to be a very confrontational energy of what do you need to change in your life during this time. But at this point in the process, most of you will be more in the reorganizing, sorting things out phase versus the, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to build and I'm going to start building it now. There'll be some of you who are already there, who maybe were already in that process before all of this hit. But for many of you, the fact that you've been asked to stop in a way, or stop certain aspects of your life, is going to make you confront certain things about your life that you want to celebrate and reminisce and reconnect to, and other things that you're ready to let go of. So there's this big life review. And in that, people are sharing and connecting more than ever before, and people in your life, as I said earlier, might be surprising you. So be prepared to be surprised on a relational level, because this different time that's making all of us act in a different way is also going to mean our relationships are a little different. And it would be best if you didn't expect it to be otherwise, because if you get into an expectation of what a relationship should be or is, or how someone should respond or normally responds, you're going to have another shock. So, so much is up for review right now that there's a lot of kinetic energy in the air. So be open to that. Okay, I touched on ancestral issues and memories already, but you might have ancestral or past wounds or experiences around fear, death, love coming up through your body. So the very energetic among you, those of you who tap into past lives, tap into other places energetically, and that's part of your psychic ability and your psychic experience, your empathic experience. Yeah, this could be really out there right now. You might be like, Jesus, why the hell am I in Atlantis today? That's quite normal. That's part of what's cycling through right now, because what we're in right now that we're calling coronavirus is actually yet another event on the earth historically that has played out like this before. But because they're more rare, what it taps into is the more unconscious, the more buried, the more forgotten memory bank. So for those of you who are very energetic, you might be going all over the map right now. And again, if that's serving you, fantastic. If it's unpleasant, if it's too much, ground, breathe, meditate, do whatever works for you. This beautiful big tree behind me right now is like my best friend in this garden. And this tree is a tree that I sit with a lot. And I just, it's kind of fantastic because I'm like, oh God, you're just so much. You've seen so much, you've been through so much, like so much more than me in this physical body has been through. So whatever it is, it might be as simple as sitting with your favorite tree or a plant that you have in your house if you don't have access to a garden or you can't see a tree from the window. But grounding is going to be so important. And then for those of you who don't tap into any of that stuff and you're like, well, maybe past lives exist, but I've never tapped into them. It might just be your present life. It might be memories of family members or exes or people that you've known. It's this big life review because everything we've been asked to stop. So there is a kind of death process going on right now. And I'm not saying, obviously death is in the air and death is very much what we're being asked to focus on. Even though the deaths aren't that high right now with the virus itself, comparatively to other things, I'm not saying they're not high. I don't need any comments about that. But what I mean is we're really being asked to look at life and death. And that's where we're being asked to focus by our news channels, by the public conversation. And so it's bringing up a kind of death experience inside our body, or a near-death experience, because life won't be the same after this. There are going to be many things that are going to be very different. And we still don't fully know what that looks like, but we know that this is a game changer. So it's natural that these thoughts, feelings, experiences, memories would be moving through you. Okay, this one is an important one. Deepening self-trust. So the reason this came up, because I was surprised when I channeled that message, but then when I sat with it, it made total sense. You're being asked to trust what you feel is true and what is true for you in this moment versus what the latest news story you've read or article about the virus or about what's going on behind the virus, all that stuff. You're really being asked to kind of see all this flood of information, and not just the flood of information about what's going on in the outer world. The flood of information you might be on the receiving end of with the other people you're in a house with or an apartment with or in a building with, because the noise of each other that's now going on is very different. In the past, people could leave their house or go out for a walk or go and do things that right now, those things have been curtailed. So the reason your self-trust is being asked to deepen is because you're having to decide what's true for me, is a part of that true for me and another part isn't, and also what's true for me in my relationships with these people. And how much do I want to engage? It's especially difficult if you're parenting in the house with family. God, I know I've many friends who are parents right now, and I've seen that fantastic Facebook video of the father like turning into the couch invisibly when the kid's calling him. But if we take the joke side away from that, actually what it's doing is it's creating new levels of internal boundary, because you can't necessarily just leave or disappear for long periods of time. So what you're learning to do is hold yourself in a different way. And while still being engaged, perhaps not being quite as enmeshed, perhaps being a little more sovereign in who you are, while also being in relationship to this person, but not necessarily being as entangled or as codependent. And the circumstances are challenging that. So your trust of yourself is being asked to deepen. That can be a very difficult process to go through. It's something we all go through as we grow anyway, but overwhelm can often be what pushes you there. So if you're feeling overwhelmed right now, remember it is you that has to manage that overwhelm. You have to stop looking at certain things, having certain conversations, perhaps not speaking to that friend who's constantly in fear as often as you are, because you're noticing it's having a knock-on effect on you. So it's a real time of self-empowerment around your self-trust. And it's not always easy, it's tough, and it can be edgy and it can be uncomfortable. But deepening self-trust is really what's coming up right now and will be showing up throughout not just the month of April, but beyond that too. Okay, this one's a nice one. High highs. So feelings of peace, love, connection, and oneness like never before. And, some of you who are hearing that might be annoyed that I'm saying that. I haven't had any of those. And I get it, I'm trying to cover a whole group here, but if it's in the energy field, it's available to you. So for me personally, I have been experiencing those, but I've also been experiencing the dives into fear and the dives into contraction. So don't worry, nobody out there is just high at the moment, any of you who are annoyed. And what I would also say is, really for me, the experience of those highs come more when I'm willing to go through the contraction moments, when I'm willing to acknowledge I feel a bit off and that I need to do something about it, rather than panicking about it, trying to run away from it, trying to avoid it, trying to numb it. All things that I'm sure are going on right now. And I, no judgment at all, because it's tough stuff getting into some of this stuff in the body, especially when you're not used to it. But the high highs, when they come, are really high. And the one thing I want to share about that is there is some serious cosmic energy flying around right now. And I'm sure many of you who tap into that feel it. It's like, oh my God, the skies are alive right now. There's a lot, not all the time, but there are these periods where the sky is full of light and full of love, and it comes like a blast and then it leaves. So it's interesting because that's also activating these high highs. So even though there's a lot of challenge and a lot of, as I said in the mid-March coronavirus update, a lot of root chakra fear stuff, there's also this enormous high. So again, the frequency range between fear and love is incredibly wide right now. Okay, you are reorganizing. There's a real reorganization going on. I joked to a couple of my team members on a meeting this week. I said, I keep hearing about people reorganizing their closets, and I'm envious because we've been working behind the scenes to do what we normally do and also to kind of respond to coronavirus. And I promise I'm going to reorganize a cupboard today because that feels very satisfying. But what's going on actually is kind of a major reorganization on a world level. So it will be affecting you psychically, psychologically, emotionally, and reorganizing your closets, reorganizing your desk, reorganizing the furniture in your house is a great way to mirror and invite the new. So for those of you who are feeling like you need a change of energy, a change of scene, try pushing some furniture around in your house a different way. Hang up some different pictures if you have pictures on the walls. Just move the energy a little bit so that you're not fighting how things were, now they've changed. The more we can adapt to this change, the stronger and more empowered we're going to be when we're through it. And that's going to be really important Because when we come out of this, it is going to be a time of innovation. There is going to be a speedy energy again, and you are going to be needed to show up, to do things. So this time of reorganization, which is very internal, you can also mirror it in your environment, and that would be a very healthy thing to do. So I just throw that out there. Remember too, our feelings and our thoughts organize themselves in response to our outer world. I'll say that again. Our feelings and our thoughts organize themselves in response to our outer world. So for example, let's say I'm 8 years old and I have, I'm looked after by my dad all week, and I love my dad, and my dad looks after me really well, and I feel really safe. My feelings and my thoughts are going to start to become patterned because of this feeling of safety, and I know what the rhythm in the house is, I know what the routine is. All of a sudden, my dad isn't there anymore. And he's not there for 3 days. He goes away and someone else looks after me. My feelings and thoughts are not going to be the same. And they're probably going to freak out at first because I'm like, hang on a second, my pattern, my safety, my rhythm, my routine has changed. So remember, that's what's going on right now. The rug got pulled. And so a lot of people are dealing with this, whoa, what the hell? So we can be with that as it moves through us, but we can also reorganize aspects of our life to help us not so much even control your environment, but feel like you're calibrating to what's going on and that you're bringing some change to your life. So it may sound like a small thing, but it's important. Remember, fear will cut you off from your spirit and your soul. So by all means, feel all you need to feel and transmute it as it comes through you. But when you're going through those feelings, remember, once you're through them, to stay present, stay in the present moment. What's happening to you today? What can you hear? The birds. I can hear from a distance someone's doing something with a machine. What can you hear? What's in this present moment? Focus on your breathing, focus on your breath. I feel my feet on the floor. I feel my body breathing. I hear birds. I feel sun on my face. Focus on the present as much as you can if fear is something you're entangled with. And be really mindful about what you're feeding yourself, what you're drinking, what you're putting in your body, what you're exposing your body to, because fear tends to stay contagious because of circumstances. So you might have to really work, if you're locked in a dance with fear right now, to make sure that you bring in light, love, and forces that counterbalance fear. And you might have to start doing that very diligently. So bear that in mind. Let me see, I'm going through this. I had like 14 notes and I'm already aware we've been going for a little while, but it's hard to get through all this information fast at the moment, even though I know so many of you are probably overwhelmed by the content out there. Okay, so what changes can you make right now? You can't do the same routine, many of us. So what changes can you make? What new things can you bring in? Because especially if you're through the shock and the grief period, now there's some room and some energy for some new. And new is going to feel good. And it's going to lift you. It's going to shift you. It's going to be good for you and for the people you're around. Something new that you could focus on. Perhaps it's writing poems. Perhaps it's 10 minutes a day where you doodle on a pad. Perhaps it's learning to cook in a different way. Something new, so that this time doesn't just feel like loss, that there is something gained here. Something you're learning. Okay, gratitude, being aware of what you're grateful for in the now, and really sitting with gratitude for a few minutes each day to see what comes in, because I'm sure many of you now are grateful for things that we took for granted just a few weeks ago, but there will be other more transcendent layers of gratitude if you make it a practice and sit with it for a few minutes every day. I already mentioned innovation and creativity is going to come to the surface. Many of you will be leading the way with that right now. So this is a real time of innovation and creativity. If you're generally feeling stable and generally feeling good, that will be coming to you. And if you're not and you want to let that come in, really focus on looking after yourself in some of the ways that I've shared here. Last but not least, the rise of the human spirit. There was something that just kept hitting me a couple of weeks ago when all this kicked off. The idea of everyone being separated, what this is going to do, and I'm already seeing this, I'm sure you are too in the last week or so, this is going to bring the human spirit to rise in a way that we have never seen. And it will take time. It's not like everyone's going to come out their houses when all this is over and it will be immediately evident. There will be fundamental changes in our psyche and our emotional bodies as a collective and in our spirits, because there's this awakening going on. And it's far bigger than anything that's planetary, anything that's in the 3D world, any virus or anything else. It's going to be coming through you like a surge, and it's going to come through us as a collective. So you're going to really see the evidence of that when we are through this period. The rise of the human spirit in the next 1 to 2 years is going to be enormous. It will really start to peak around 2021, but it will be enormous. So bear that in mind whenever you're feeling a little lost, a little detached, you miss your people, you miss being out and about. What's happening right now is a growth process that will be exponential when we're all back out in the world. And we're in the world right now, we're just limited on our movement, but there's an enormous amount of connection going on in so many ways. There is more to all of this than meets the eye, as I touched on. It's far bigger than a virus, and yes, we will learn all of that. But this is not the time. That time will come. So, to all of you who tuned in, thank you so much. A real pleasure to do this for you every month. And, you know, I have several other free videos on YouTube. We also made some recordings available from my store for free to support you. So we'll put the link to that underneath this video link. So if you're watching this on any platform, do read the text underneath the video because you can't always make links clickable on videos. So go to the text underneath this video box and you'll see a link to the free resources page and you will see a link to other aspects. We have a brand new recording that I recorded about 10 days ago. I basically channeled the Z's for almost an hour on what's going on, people. It's called The Activation of Planetary Awakening 2020 to 2030. It features sound healing from Davor Bozique, and the message we will play a clip of in just a moment, so stay tuned for that. It's available exclusively to members of my monthly community, The Portal, but it's also going to be the recording that we offer you with Elevate. Like many people, we were doing something completely different in the month of April. We were going to relaunch my Own Your Value course, but that just did not feel right. And it didn't feel like the right time, and it didn't feel like what was needed. So we will come back to that in a month or two. But I felt very strongly that I wanted to do a live stream teaching series for the month of April. It's called Elevate 2020. And for those of you who've taken my annual Rebirth program, it's a little similar to that in that I want to really tap into what we need at this time and what's the next level of us as human beings on Earth at this time. So it's called Elevate 2020, and it will focus on you owning your intuition, embracing your humanity, activating the fire of your soul, and up-leveling your mission on the planet. And your mission might look like work. It might just be who you're here to be and to bring yourself to the planet as. So Elevate 2020 will start on April 9th and it will finish on April 30th. It will include the MP3 I just mentioned, which we're about to play a clip of, the activation of Planetary Awakening. That will be available as soon as you sign up. And it will start April 9th, and because of these times and just we're aware how everybody has been affected, we're doing two things. We're keeping the price very, very affordable, but we're also going to do the April 9th live stream teaching for free. So anybody can take the one on intuition. It's called Own Your Intuition, and I'm going to teach you how to use and be with your intuition in your life so that you can really see and create your life very clearly and very mindfully in the years to come. And for anyone who signs up for the full program, you'll receive the Activation of Planetary Awakening MP3 immediately. And for those of you who are my Portal members, I will see you for our deep dive live broadcast in a couple of months. And all of the usual goodies that you get in the Portal are available to you. So you might want to check out our monthly membership, the Portal, too, to support you during these times. But for now, that's all from me. Here is the clip. Take care, everybody, and hopefully we'll see you at least for April 9th, the teaching on intuition. You can sign up at the link below. Take care. Some of you are saying things just got very real on the planet. From our perspective, we would say things have been getting very real for a very long time. But this is the first, biggest, most overt, third-dimensional demonstration of things getting real energetically on your planet than you have had in 2 decades. And 2 decades ago, the consciousness on the planet was not the same. So breathe. You were built for these times. You were built to remember that this story has all played out before. We will say that again. This story has all played out before. But this time, the circumstances are different. You are coming to the end of Earth karma. That does not mean Earth itself is going away, but you are coming to the end of the karmic cycles on Earth that have kept so many of you enslaved. And you will see between now and 2050 an extraordinary axis shift on this planet.